So you want to learn how to grow broccoli sprouts, huh? Some organic, non-GMO, vegan-friendly, highly nutritious broccoli sprouts? Well, you came to the right place. Because today, I'm going to show you how to grow these in the comfort of your own home in less than 5 days. So let's get into it. Alright, so before we get to the sprouting, I'll show you what you need and what I like to use. First things first, wide mouth mason jar. You'll need the wide mouth one if you want to use the sprouting lids, which I highly recommend. And this one's a half-gallon jar. You can use any size jar you really want, but half-gallon's nice because you can just grow more sprouts. More sprouts equals more life. So that's what I like to use. Next thing you'll need to use or obtain are the sprouting lids. So we have our standard cheap stainless steel mesh sprouting lid. Nothing wrong with that. Then we have a little bit higher quality lid. It's a little heavier and it's plastic with these little feet on it. I've also heard people using cheesecloth, I think it is, with a rubber band around the top of the jar. So whatever you want to get, it's up to you. I'll leave a link in the description to Amazon where I bought these lids. Nice thing about the plastic lids with the feet is if you're growing multiple jars, you just rinse it, stand it up, let it drain, get on to your next one, rinse it, let it drain, and then you can come back when you're ready. Next thing you'll need, some sprouting seeds. I like to use the Mom's Sprouting Seeds variety, certified organic. They've done me well. And a scooping device. It's measured in tablespoons. Pretty simple scooping device there. Well, now we can start sprouting. So we're gonna add the seeds to the jars now. And with these half-gallon jars, I like to put about 3 tablespoons of seeds into each one. You could probably push it to 4 tablespoons, but I find once the sprouts start getting a little larger, it gets harder to drain out all the water, and you don't want that extra moisture in there. So 3 tablespoons per jar, and that'll give you about a pound of sprouts in about 5 days. So it's quite a bit. Alright, so now we're going to fill these jars up about halfway with cold water and let these seeds soak for a solid 4 hours. Now, you might have read somewhere, oh, someone said to soak them for 6, someone soaks them overnight. I guess it all depends on who you ask, but I'm following the recommendations from Mom's Sprouting Seeds, and they say no more than 4 hours, and that's worked out fine for me, so I'm going to continue doing that. Some people also say to shove the jars into a dark cabinet while the seeds sprout. Mom's doesn't mention anything about putting them into a dark cabinet. I leave them out on the counter, just not in direct sunlight. Just keep them out, away from a window. And that works out fine. I was trying to find out why people put them in dark cabinets, and I guess it's so the sunlight doesn't damage the sprout as it's forming and possibly kill it. But like I said, I've been doing this for over a year now, and I leave them on the counter, and I haven't had any issues. So, all right, so our broccoli sprouts, or seeds, have been soaking for about 4 hours now. Not much change with them yet, but you can see a few of them are starting to split open. So what we're going to do now is just swish around the water and then drain it all out of the jars. And we'll keep it propped up on an angle. You can use a bowl. I have this little strainer in my sink that works well. And we're going to rinse the sprouts 2 times a day. I like to rinse them once in the morning when I get up, and then once around dinner time. And we're going to repeat this for about 5 days or until the sprouts are ready. So as you can see, all the jars are propped up on an angle draining. It's very important to get as much water out as you can. You don't want any of the seeds sitting in water. Also try to distribute the seeds around the edges of the jar. Just roll the jar until you get kind of a thin layer. This will help with them not sitting in a ball and moisture getting too high between them. And then one more thing to watch out for is when you drain, make sure that these drain holes, they're not all clogged up. You want some airflow to be able to get into the jar and kind of let the humidity out. So what will happen sometimes is, especially when the seeds start to sprout, they'll fall down and just clog it all. And then the humidity in the jar will get too high. Okay, so we're about a day and a half in here, and I just want to give you an update. Our seeds have started to sprout, as you can see. But I wanted to take a look a little closer here. A lot of people, when they see this, you see on the roots, there's some fuzzy stuff, white fuzzy hairs. A lot of people will think that's mold, and that's not the case. This is perfectly normal. Those are the root hairs of the seeds. So if you get that, don't be concerned. Totally normal. Give your seeds a rinse and continue on growing. Okay, so it's just over 5 days now, and as you can see, we have a ton of sprouts. Could have harvested them yesterday, but I just wanted to leave them out on the counter, get a little bit more sunlight to green up the sprouts a little bit. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to show you how to get rid of all these little husks, seed husks. So what I like to do to separate the seed husks from our precious sprouts is fill up our jar with cold water and then empty it into a large mixing bowl. The seed husks will then float to the top, and I'll be able to scoop them out with a ladle or a spoon. After I've separated them as best I can, there's always one or two or a few of them hanging around. I'll then take my sprouts and then kind of layer them across a dish towel or some napkins and pat them dry. You can agitate the sprouts a little bit in order to get more husks to float to the top. Then just push down and let the husks float into your spoon. It takes a little bit of time, but it produces a higher quality product. Okay, so as you can see, the majority of the husks are out. I'm not too worried about getting them all out. I just put this into my smoothie anyway, so it gets blended up. So kind of drain out as much water as you can. And just transfer them over to your dish towel. Now pat them dry. Now we can load them up for freezing, in my case. Still a little damp, but that's alright. You can leave them out on the counter for a few minutes to let the water evaporate, but you don't want to do that for too long or your sprouts will dry out. So there you have it. Fresh broccoli sprouts in just a few days. So if you enjoyed this video, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. I'm going to continue bagging up the rest of these sprouts, and I'll see you next time.